Fantastic.
All right. So yeah, my background started like about 18 years ago. Started working at law firms. Working at law firms led me to working at insurance companies in their legal departments. Worked at Progressive in their legal department. Worked at Nationwide Insurance in their trial division, and most recently, I worked at People's Trust Insurance in their legal department. But what I was seeing at some of these insurance companies were that they were denying and underpaying families from getting their properties fixed for a financial incentive. So basically, about 3.5 years ago, I gathered up my experience and my knowledge from the defense attorneys, and I founded my own public adjusting firm. I went to FIU and gained a construction trades background, which includes plumbing, electrical, carpentry, and OSHA. I am a member of the Florida Association of Public Insurance Adjusters Legislative Committee, which means that we assist lawmakers in understanding the effects of the laws and how they have the effects of the laws on the consumers. I will be a 2023 speaker and presenter at the Windstorm Insurance Network in Orlando. And I've also published an article for the Daily Business Review, and I have other things in the works. This is not a stock photo. This is a real client of mine that I actually handled their claim in Mexico City Beach, Florida. I pretty much handle large property damage claims. I've done art galleries, associations, commercial buildings, luxury homes. Actually sitting in a client's home right now as I speak to you guys. So the 2022 current state of the Florida property insurance market. So in the past 18 months, some insurance companies have gone into receivership. I'm sure you guys have heard about it. Receivership basically means that the state has taken over the insurance company to close down its operations. So after the insurance company alleged tons of fraud without presenting these statistics, there were laws that were passed in 2021 to address some of the alleged abusive practices. Also built into these laws were means and mechanisms to gather data in order to make the insurance companies more profitable. As we know, laws take time to see the effects or to see the results of them. So rather than allowing the time to see what the 2021 changes would bring, in the middle of this year, 2022, the lawmakers decided to hold a special session without having the data from 2021 to make more changes, which they've done. The insurance companies are great at crying fraud, and fraud does exist. I'm not going to say that it doesn't. It does exist, but there are other contributing reasons for the property insurance market volatility. And the side that the insurance companies are not telling you are that there are internal issues within themselves, such as poor underwriting. Sometimes they don't spread the risk appropriately. For example, if you're going to insure 20 homes in the state of Florida, you're not going to write them all in Miami. You're gonna, write one in Jacksonville, one in Tampa, one in West Palm, one in Fort Lauderdale. I mean, you're gonna spread the risk. You don't want it, so that way if something happens to Miami, you don't have 20 people filing claims. So another thing is that some insurance companies don't obtain enough reinsurance. What many people don't realize is that their insurance company has insurance. So let's say, for example, a hurricane hits and the insurance company has $100 million worth of claims. Your insurance company would then go to their carrier, which is a reinsurance carrier, and file a claim to recoup most or all of their money back. What happens is that sometimes the insurance companies kind of skimp on getting enough coverage, and what they don't have enough coverage on, which is mandated by the state, they divvy it up and they spread it across their policyholders, which raises the rates for us, the consumers, the property owners, as opposed to them getting the adequate amount of reinsurance. Another reason is that they fight legitimate claims. There are people who have never filed a claim before. There are people who, have had their homes for many years, never filed a claim, never had a reason to go to their insurance company. And those people file claims, and the insurance company fights them tooth and nail on a legitimate claim. It happens all the time. I've seen it happen a lot. Let's talk about Citizens, because a lot of people are getting pushed into Citizens. Citizens was created by the Florida government as an insurer of last resort. It is not a private insurance company. They are immune from bad faith. And I mean, I'm sure Alex can explain what bad faith is, but basically you can only hurt them so bad. But there are certain things that they can get away with that a private insurance company could not get away with. They recently forced a policy of basically allow us to repair your property or take $10,000. That's what they're adding into all their insurance policies. So if you as a citizen's policy holder has an issue, you will be eventually forced to face a decision. Either you, let's say you have $100,000 worth of damage. Either you take $10,000 cash from them, which means you have $90,000 that you need to come up with, or you let them and their vendors control the repair process and let them repair it. The issue with that is you don't know what materials they're using. You have no control over who these people are. And this, whatever vendor, contractor, their loyalty will be to the insurance company and not to you. And I've seen instances where the things go wrong between the homeowner and the contractor puts a lien on the person's home, and now the person can't sell the property. And you know, they'd had no control over this contractor. They were forced to use them based off of the insurance company. What would you want to look out for in your policy? $10,000 water cap. A lot of policies do have it. You can ask your insurance agent or the carrier directly to if you can buy your way out of that. Managed repair, direct repair, preferred contractor is what I explained to you guys in the slide before. You want to have control over who repairs your property. You want an indemnity policy and not a repair policy. Actual cash value. Actual cash value basically means that it's the present day value of whatever it is that you're trying to claim. So if you bought something, I'm just going to use a small example. If you bought something for $10, you want the policy that's going to give you the $10 that you paid for it, not the policy that's going to give you $2 because it says that it's depreciated. You got to pay attention to your exclusions. There are a lot of things that are excluded, and a lot of times people don't realize what's excluded and what's covered until after they have a loss. But after you've had the loss, we can't go back and change things. It's already too late. What does damage look like? I'm sure you've all seen a little bit of damage before. There's damage here, like on the ceiling. It looks like a little stain. Usually it presents itself after heavy rains, but it's not the rain that triggers the coverage. It's the wind speed. And the magic number is 40 miles per hour. That's the magic number. It can rain all that it wants. Your roof is designed to actually be rained on, but it's not designed for high velocity winds. As you can see, they removed this cabinet right here and they found mold and water stains here. This is inside of a cabinet. You can see these water stains here. So some people might say, well, what if I never saw the damage? It's been occurring for a while. There are arguments to be made, obviously, because you can't resolve something or address something that you didn't know about. So once you find out about it, then you have a duty and obligation to do something about it and to prevent it from getting worse. It's called a duty to mitigate. So what do you do if you suffer property damage? If you can safely do so, take a picture or video of the loss of whatever's happening. Make sure you make note of as many details as possible, such as if you have any witnesses, write down any facts pertaining to the loss. You have to safely take reasonable necessary steps to mitigate the damage and to prevent it from getting worse, like I just said. So for example, if there's a pipe that's leaking, shut off the main water source. If the house is on fire, call the fire department. Then you want to look for your most recent copy of your property insurance policy. And I recommend that you contact the public adjuster. Why? Because a lot of times we call the insurance company and we're saying things that we think make sense to us, but they don't. I'll give you an example. You come home, there's water everywhere. You call the insurance company and say, hey, I just had a flood in my house. I need you guys to help me. They come out, and 30 days later, they possibly could send you a denial. And they could say, hey, you know what? You didn't suffer a flood. You go to your flood carrier. It's a different carrier. You used the F word. It was flood. You didn't have a flood. Flood is rising water from outside coming into the home. You had a pipe break, but you called them and told me you had a flood. So that's the words you use matter. One moment. Okay. So why do you need a public adjuster? To level the playing field. They have their adjuster, so should you. An insurance company denial is not always the end. You have to ask yourself, have you read your entire insurance policy? That's the end of my presentation. Do you guys have any questions?
So Kevin,
Yes.
what is your remedy if you feel that the citizen's chosen contractor is doing substandard work?
What you need to do is you need to get a general contractor or an engineer to document the exact things that you feel that they're doing wrong. And you should contact either a public adjuster to go in there and to basically, you have to send them something called a construction defect. You can go after them for construction defect. A lot of the time, there's a case, it's case law, it's Drew Mobile, which basically says that if you catch them, doing substandard work and they're not returning you to your pre-loss conditions, it basically removes the policy limits. And yeah, some carriers might say, oh yeah, we'll go back in and try it again. But most of the time, they'll just say, you know what, how much, what do you need? We'll just pay you out. So first they try to repair it, they screw it up. You basically hold their feet to the fire, with your evidence, and they eventually just pay you out.
And then what do you do if they are simply ignoring a lot of the damage? Let's say you have a flood and you have a flood policy, and your kitchen cabinets are warped along the bottom, but they're not destroyed, and they tell you that it's not a covered loss.
What I would do is I would document everything in depth. I don't believe in having phone conversations with the carriers. I like to get everything written down in writing, because a lot of times they suffer from amnesia later on and say, oh, I don't remember. Oh, we didn't talk about this. No. You need to document everything, photographs, emails, because if you can't, if it wasn't written down, then it never happened.
So the incident that you're talking about, the citizen's contractor, that happened to a friend of mine. She had a burst pipe and made a claim for that. Citizen said they'll hire a contractor and sent them out. But then when the repair was halfway done, citizens denied the claim, even though they picked a contractor. So the contractor walked off the job with the work halfway done. She suffered about 9 months of loss of rental income because the tenant vacated the property. Eventually she had to get an attorney and sue.
Wow.
But I was thinking she would have been better off if she had called an adjuster, a public adjuster, as soon as she discovered the damage.
Absolutely. I agree.
Did the insurance company end up having to pay her legal costs?
Yeah, she sued, and she did get the lost rent, and also she got the job finished. But there is a temptation to feel that Citizens is going to be straight with you and not put you in a predicament like that, where they pick the contractor, so the contractor doesn't care about you at all, and then they end up not paying the claim anyway. In fact, right after the last Denny's meeting, we were talking with Andy Peleus. He had a roof claim that was completely denied by Citizens, and he ended up getting a public adjuster and ultimately settled for $85,000. So there was a big difference between Citizens' offer of $0 versus the end result of $85,000.
Yeah.
I sort of feel as an attorney that if you have something that looks like a big loss, a 5-figure loss, that you should call an attorney or an public adjuster first, lest you say something that prejudices the claim. So Kevin, what advice would you have about being careful what you say to the insurance company?
When if you can tell when things are starting to go a little left. You can tell when they start asking for recorded statements, they start asking for examination under oath, they start asking for a laundry list of documents. You got to be careful. You got to be very careful as to how you respond to these things. You want to be honest, but sometimes the system is designed to kind of catch you up. I mean, you didn't write the policy. They wrote the policy, so they wrote it in their favor. They do this day in and day out. You're the newcomer to the game, not them. So you want to get somebody in your corner who knows what they're doing, who knows the game, because they're going to try their best to pay you as little as possible or outright deny you. I've taken somebody from 0 to $250,000. That was a art gallery that I had. Right now I'm working on another claim. They gave them maybe $200,000. It's a building, but the real number is 2.7 million. So I say all that to say, even if you're not gonna, even if you don't want to hire a public adjuster, get somebody else to take a look at it, somebody who's been in the industry, somebody who has an idea of what's going on, and get a second pair of eyes on it. Because people say, oh yeah, my adjuster's coming over, and I say, you're an adjuster? What do you mean you're an adjuster? Oh, the adjuster from the insurance company. I go, you don't have an adjuster. That's their adjuster. You don't have anybody, you think you have it, you don't have an adjuster, So I'm always, trying to help people. I see Antonio raise his hand. Antonio, you're on mute.
Hey, Gene, how you doing?
Good.
Good. Good to see you again. There's a couple of questions that I have. The first one is, what about your fees and all that stuff? How is it, the breakdown and all that stuff? And the second one is counting that the state of the insurance company, especially in Florida, is a little uncertain. Where do you think the direction of the insurance world in Florida is going to go?
Sure. I'll answer both questions.
Sure. I'll answer both questions.
Can you, I'm getting feedback. I'm getting some feedback. All right, perfect. So the first answer is 20% of what I recover. If I don't recover anything, you don't owe me anything. Very transparent about that. It's illegal for a public adjuster to go over 20%. So that's pretty much what I charge. And as far as the future of the insurance market, I think that the fixes that have been put in place will be sufficient and we'll be back on track. I think in the next 12 to 18 months, we'll see carriers returning to Florida. Insurance companies, whenever they don't make the amount of money that they want, they cry broke and they run away. Whenever they think and believe, oh, well, maybe there'll be less claims, maybe we can charge a higher premium, then they come back. I think that the laws, the special session that was just had, will assist the carriers and curtail some of the patterns and practices that we've seen. So within the next 12 to 18 months, I think that we should be back on track, and carriers should be returning back to Florida. That's what I think.
Can I ask a question?
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I don't know how to raise my little hand on my video there. So what you're saying is that if you have a citizen's policy and you have damage to your house and you submit a claim, that Citizens actually is the one who designates the contractor who does the rebuild or the repair. Is that what
Correct.
you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. You
Did
can
that?
either do that or you can take $10,000. Those are the options that they give you.
Is that something new? When did they instate that policy?
It's been around for about a year, and they're phasing them into all their policies. You might even have it on your policy now, might not even realize it.
Yeah, I should check that because I have a home down in the Keys, and back after Hurricane Irma, that was 2017. I had extensive damage, over $100,000 in damage, and it didn't work that way at all. I was actually the GC, and I subcontracted out all of the work, but I did it myself. But I guess the rules changed last year. So
yeah, check your endorsements towards the back of the policy. Take a look, and you'll find it. It's hidden.
Okay.
They snuck it in.
I guess so. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
So that is something else that you should consider is if the policy is not comprehensible to you, you may want to ask Kevin or your who sold you the policy what your terms are, because there's sometimes deadlines, especially to deal with water damage. That if you don't do exactly what the policy says, you could forfeit your claim.
Yes.
So know what your coverage is, and then every year check your policy again, because they're always changing your coverage, usually for the worse.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that if you've got a separate garage or separate structures, you may find that those aren't covered anymore. If you have a screen covering for your pool, that might be deleted from your coverage. Separate buildings are cut off, so it changes all the time. And then your deductible is often a percentage. So if you have $1 million policy with a 10% deductible, that's a lot of damage that's on your plate before you see any money from the insurance company.
Yep, you're right. Dan, I see Dan, you raised your hand. Go ahead.
Yeah, Kevin, first of all, thank you for a very good presentation. Could you just give a little bit more information on that, what you mentioned about if there's sustained winds of over 40 miles per hour in terms of filing a roof claim for damage?
Sure, absolutely. So about 2 months ago, we had some heavy rains that came through. I think the winds were maybe 15, 20 miles per hour. Don't quote me, look that up. But the threshold, a lot of insurance policies have something called wind created opening. And if it's not wind created opening that causes the actual water to come through, the insurance companies won't cover it. You need tropical storm or hurricane force winds. The threshold for most policies that I see is about 40 miles per hour. Once you hit about 40 miles per hour, you can then justify why you need tiles or a new roof or whatever it is. And also you need 25% or more of the roof to be damaged in order to qualify for a whole new roof. So those are the magic numbers: 40 miles per hour, 25% of the more of the roof damaged. If you get those two things put together and there was a storm, then you're in a better position to win your insurance claim.
It's Steve Carmen here. I was just wondering, the insurance companies have withdrawn from Florida. Is it due to the severe storms? And if they keep happening, are they going to keep withdrawing?
That's a great question. And I don't have the answer to that question. I will say this though, we haven't had a hurricane since 2017, Hurricane Irma. So we're now in 2022. So you kind of have to scratch your head on this one a little bit. Premiums have been going up. We haven't had a hurricane since 2017. We're now in 2022. There has to be more to the story. It can't just be, oh, we're losing so much money. I mean, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. I mean, that's 5 years of no major storm. So, which means that you haven't had hundreds of millions of dollars worth of claims. So you've been raising our premiums this whole time. Where's all that money going? What's happening? There's a story that's not being told here.
Is it always in Florida? I worry about sinkholes, and now with that apartment or condo complex collapsed buildings.
Yeah.
For various reasons. Is that possibly the story, or you're not?
The condo collapse is a little different, just a little different. I can see the connection. The condo collapse, that's a whole nother topic for another day. And we'll talk about this some other time. We're talking, the condo collapse was a lot of liability mixed in with property damage as well. So that's a little different. And also they didn't have enough insurance on that building to even pay out all the claims. So that's a whole nother topic. But
Well, while we're on that subject, one more thing. I always look for real estate investment opportunities. Somebody said some laws passed required them to basically do structural inspections and repairs.
yes.
And possibly more insurance. Do you know anything about groups that are now in trouble that might be interested in selling or teaming or something?
I'd have to look into my database. I mean, a lot of times they look for engineers. I think if you connect with engineers have really good information to figure out who's looking around to get their recertifications and who's in trouble. I don't know if they publicize that data or that information as to who's being fined and who's in trouble for not having their property up to code. But yeah, it's something I'd have to go looking for.
If you happen to find it and bring it back to the group, it'd be appreciated. Do you want well, you have my contact info, Steve Carmen, I'm in the chat. If you run across something, please send it to me and call me.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, so thank you, Kevin, for a great presentation. If everyone could give Kevin a round of applause. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.